Welcome to the Profit School by Measure You podcast. This is the AI first edition conversation between myself, Jeff Sauer, and my business partner, Mercer. And today we're going to be talking about AI powered sales techniques and tactics. As you go through your sales process, especially for service businesses, agencies, freelancers, consultants, how do you consult AI to make sure that you're doing the right thing? And not only that, but how to use AI at every step of the way. So we're going to unpack that right now. And Mercer, let's go ahead and get into it. So we're talking about this idea. What comes to mind for you when I say AI-powered sales techniques and tactics?
Yeah, the AI power stuff is wide ranging field. Like, for me, it's just like using AI tools to do this, using AI as a partner to help you to accomplish the things that we need to be able to create, when it comes to this. The wider option for me is sales techniques and tactics. Like, what exactly do we mean by that? Is that sales pages? Is that writing emails? Is that creating a webinar? Is that, working with, replying to an email that a customer's given you, or building proposals? So I guess maybe we can narrow that down a little bit, in terms of the topic. You want to try?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I think let's go ahead and do that. So I think this is specifically, let's talk about agencies and service businesses. So I'm going to assume that they don't have like a regular sales page where their people are clicking on a buy now button. They're used to
maybe there's like a book a call link or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They might be booking a call. There's some human interaction. You definitely want to make sure you have good quality over just raw quantity. You want to make sure that they're qualified when you're talking to them. So a lot of the standard sales practices that we've talked about in previous episodes are here, but we're basically just trying to get a AI spin on top of it to make sure that we're covering this idea of AI first business as we go along. So I think that sounds good. So that is our avatar that we're talking to and we're going through, and we're just trying to make sure that you use AI or helping you enable you to use AI along the way, so that you're getting a better result and you feel better about it, and you're getting a superhuman capability that maybe you didn't have before. The good news, and I would say even, is that even if you don't have a great sales process right now, or you're relying purely on referrals, now is as good a time as any to use AI to help you fill in your gaps. So you need to have a pretty good idea of how to do sales, but if you don't have a process right now, AI can help you with that as well, right? So let's go ahead and dive in. So maybe that's a good place to start, Mercer, is what is a typical sales process for bringing in customers for if you're providing services? Like, what is a typical way to do that? And just, can you map that out, or do you want me to map that out? Just like what it's like getting from a lead to a signed contract.
Essentially the process is going to be, it's an awareness funnel, right? It's like, how aware are they of you as a brand, right? So it's sort of the social media top of funnel marketing stuff that everyone's out there doing. Maybe you're helping people in groups and kind of getting your company name out there, your name out there, that sort of stuff. Are they aware of that? The second thing right after that is, are they aware that you are necessary in their life? Are you relevant? And that's where the problem stuff comes in. Like, are they aware? So it's cool to know that McDonald's exists, but if I'm not hungry, who cares, right? So it's like, are they aware of you? Cool, you're a thing. Are they aware that they have a problem that you can solve? And that's where it's like, now it starts moving into the sales process. It's a little more know, like, and trust. They start seeing some relevance there to engage with you and the brand. From there, obviously, depending on your model, right? Some people are going to sell stuff on pages that they might have that's product or service based, that's packaged, that they can do. People can buy an audit, something like that you can do online. Maybe there's a webinar they go to. Maybe it's a book, a call. There's a million other ways to take it from there. But it's always the same path of just, we're moving them through the problem solution aware mentality. It's sort of how I look at it. And it includes email marketing too. I think it's a huge miss for a lot of agencies. They're just not doing anything to collect emails, and they're missing that aspect of that. I also think, just a side note, communities that is the new way of email lists. Like, if people aren't building communities either for whatever their agency is, I think that's an opportunity too. But you could use AI in all of these, and we do. As we go through it, creating customer avatars, having it write the copy, having the avatars judge the copy, making sure you're using voice of customers, a million things that we can talk about. So if you want to sort of give me maybe some examples of how you've used it recently. I know you've done a lot with email marketing and changed emails, so much so that the team is helping with that, which is the unlock. It's not just you as an individual person using AI. It's you, if you have team members too, that can now start doing that. And eventually AI is going to start using AI, as the bots all hook together.
Yeah, exactly. So I like what you're saying. So a lot of what you're talking about is basically getting those. I would look at that as like maybe top of funnel or awareness to get people into your pipeline, so you can then go into your normal sales process. A lot of stuff around, like you said, community, you said just interacting with people. And that is a way to get more warm introductions, more like people who behave like referrals, as opposed to something that, as opposed to somebody who would, doing cold email or getting
Right.
this cold relationship going. And then, with a warm relationship, the sales process is a little bit different than with a cold relationship. A cold relationship, people are always in their guard. A lot of times, a salesperson might be like trying to get them to do something before they realize that there's other competition out there. So they might be like, hey, go buy this thing or whatever. But a more of a warm relationship is really trying to see if this is a good fit for your business and their business. And then seeing what level of commitment and what level of risk reduction you want to do both on both sides. So you said, like, if you have a thing, hey, go book an audit. That is a perfect way to have the first relationship with the customer, is just to give them, hey, here's a standardized package or product that I do. It's standardized pricing. If you're interested, go do this thing. And you can use email to send them to there. Once you've captured it, you could even make a video sales letter and post it on your LinkedIn. You can run ads to it. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to get that first relationship. But that's just a big part of the sales process, and we are saying sales techniques and tactics. So that fits into it really well. I'd also like to make sure that we spend some time on, like, how would you use AI to qualify leads? Like, what would you do now to qualify a lead versus what I did 2 years ago to qualify a B2B lead? And then just like, and I'll talk about some examples of what I've done, like you said, recently, on using AI to get the scope of work out there, to figure out what I want to charge for this thing, to figure out what the product's actually going to be that I deliver. It's been amazing to use AI as my co-pilot, as my partner in crime, to get to that point. Because otherwise you'd have to consult your business partner and get on a meeting with them to talk about it and everything like that. So how do you get to be more efficient with what you're doing using AI?
And to that note, I still think we need to narrow this down a little bit, because the problem is, I think where this could go right now is like, oh, you can use AI for this and for this and for this. And everybody goes, well, here's a wasted half hour. I can use AI for everything. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. But how do I use AI for something? So what is the something where you're like, this is the thing that you should start with or start to play with, or really, because if they just keep getting exposed to what's possible with AI, which is what's really happening in the market right now. Everybody hears all this stuff, but I've rarely talked to anybody who's done anything more than just a quick little chat with GPT and then sort of gone, well, it sounds like AI. And everyone's having, but that's because they don't have skills to work with AI yet. So I want to be able to help everybody build skills and leave these podcasts with like, okay, now I'm going to go do this thing to see this different type of result, right? Whether that's a new vendor or a new tool that might be out there, or a new way of interacting with AI or using AI.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting about different type of result. So I don't necessarily look at it as a different result. I look at it as a more efficient result. So I'll give you an example. Okay. So I've used AI to write a scope of work, or to refine my scope of work. So I wrote out the scope of work the way that I've done it before. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And then I had AI review it and say, what am I missing here? What clauses, what's confusing here? What, using the, like, here, you're a buyer from this type of company. What isn't clear to you? What questions are you going to have? And so then AI objects before the potential client can.
That's cool.
And so I'm getting a better scope of work. And that's honestly just a chat with Gemini or a chat with Chat GPT. Here's what I have. Here's who I'm trying to talk to. Here's what that persona or that thing would be missing. Can you give me a better result? So it's improving the result. It makes sense. So I would.
How did you do that? Just out of curiosity, because I like this is the stuff where it's like, I think if we deep dive just a little bit with like, okay, cool, how do you do that? So now it gives you a result and it goes, well, I kind of think this, and I kind of think this is off, and I kind of think this is off. And I see this pattern too, where people use AI to get some help, and AI just delivers work back to them to some extent, where it's like, well, these are my questions, or I don't really like this. And you're like, well, okay, well, what do I do? Right? How to make it better? Like, how do you actually use it to improve the SOW, that statement of work or your proposal?
Honestly, I just load it in there and be like, what, and maybe I'll do a comparison. Like, hey, there's two documents. Here's an SOP I did 5 years ago. Here's one that I have right now. What's the difference between these two documents? I'd take like a spreadsheet with the pricing and be like, hey, does this make sense to you? How do I make this more clear? It's ultimately just.
But when it's getting I'm curious on the iteration of that, because it's not just gonna be like, oh, here's your perfect thing. Now you have an SOW. That's awesome. It's not like that, right? With AI, but like, how do you let's stick with the one example I think of SOW. Like, if that's what we're talking about, you go through the proposal. Let's just say general. So it goes to the proposal, sticking with the client, which I think is important, right? Because we can get a little bit of like, and you can use it for this and this and this and this and this, and now nobody knows what to do. So it's okay. Here's my proposal. We're going to give that to AI, whether it's copying and pasting pasting it, attaching it, whatever the way is, you want to get into AI, PDF, there's a million ways to do that. Give it to AI. And then you're saying, hey, you're going to act as this customer in this type of market. I would suggest personally, like if they have a LinkedIn profile, you link that in there and you say like, cool, your act is like this. Go research all of them, learn what they're doing. They're interested in this product or service. They have a need for it. They are qualified. They're deciding if they want to buy it, if this is going to be the right scope. Go through, analyze this, tell me the objections or the questions that you would have. And is that sort of where, like generally speaking, how you're sort of prompting it? And then when that happens, if that's true, what's the reply look like? What's that process after that? Like, how do you actually work with the AI to get your actual result that you're trying to get?
So it's funny. That's an improvement upon what I did, Mercer. I'll just be completely honest. Like I was looking at more from like, you're a lawyer. Look at this thing and see what is ambiguous language. What
interesting.
What would get me into
cool.
trouble.
Yeah.
What would have them questions? What would get this person to like say you're in breach of contract? So it's more, I'm not having it write a contract, but I'm just having it improve my language. And so I did a lot of that.
I like, cool.
Yeah. So I like consulted it like an attorney. And then the result, this is the thing that you're getting at is like, what was the result? And it's like basically saying, hey, I think that this language wasn't clear. This is probably more favorable for them than it is for you. Or, hey, this isn't very clear. I could see them having a question about this thing. You might want to remove that. And so I did remove some clauses that were just like a little bit nebulous, unnecessary. It's like, why would that raise up a question? Because like ultimately, I think that a scope of work should, and you could consult AI for this too, right? Like you could probably just say, hey, if I'm Jeff Sauer reviewing my scope of work, what would he tell you? It's don't have ambiguous language. Don't use any marketing speak in the SOW whatsoever. Make sure everything's clear. Look at this thing from a fresh pair of eyes the next morning and say, can I actually deliver on this thing? Or did I have like rose colored glasses because I wanted the sale? Yeah. And does this make sense? Is it falsifiable that I did these things? It's like, that's like, if we had a bot, which we're going to have, by the way, or we might already have out there right now, the Jeff bot that reviews SOWs, that's what I would do. My SOW bot would say, no ambiguous language, not overcommitting, no marketing in your thing. And I would give you that result and you could install it and you could have me crap on your SOW and make it better. But you would have to do some of the results yourself. It would tell you this language is not good. Take it out or consult with your lawyer to make it better, right? So it's basically giving you, it's instead of looking at a 16-page SOW document and trying to figure out what it all means, it's basically telling you what are the 5 things that you should really pay attention to that you didn't really think about because you didn't look through the whole document yourself. So it's like a second pair of eyes or a review. And it saved me from a lot of pain and us from a lot of pain. And then I actually used it to come up with like what are we actually going to do? So that's that. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole of what else I used it for in that process. But the end result was that I felt like the person who was receiving this had a much better idea of what they were doing and that they wouldn't have as much back and forth.
They didn't have to figure it out as much because AI helped them kind of translate into normal.
Exactly.
That makes a ton of sense. How about earlier in the process? Like we're going back into the kind of the sales part of this. So that's kind of like the sale is kind of made at that point, to some extent you're fulfilling. What about before that? Like how have you used AI to either attract prospects or improve a prospect conversation or maybe analyze a sales call for transcriptions or something like that? Yeah.
So like, we have this thing called a sales scorecard that we use to evaluate whether somebody needs us or not. Right. So we have a template that's available for free in the ProfitSchool community. And basically you grade somebody on criteria. So like, is their website fast enough? Or is their analytics installed right the way? Is there, basically like a mini audit. We call it a sales scorecard or a mini audit. You could use AI to fill that thing out entirely. Here's a URL. Tell us how it ranks in these categories. Maybe you don't have your own sales scorecard. Maybe you use AI to say, tell me, I'm a web design company. Give me 8 criteria that I should focus on that makes a good website. And then give me a subcategory as to how do I know if this person's doing well or not. So it could be speed, it could be graphics, it could be infrastructure, it could be those types of things. AI would tell you what the 8 categories are, but maybe you'd say, give me 15, and then you take the 8 good ones, and then you use that as your scorecard. So now you know exactly what criteria makes a good website, and you can verify it because you're the expert. You know these things. You just can't really get it out of your head because you have the curse of knowledge. This is just summarizing your knowledge for you.
And then you get in there and you grade bringing us into the sales part of this, though. Where are we talking to customers and moving that forward? And I'm going to give you like maybe a different direction that could get that is like or connect the dots maybe is when you're going through and working with AI, you could take, let's say you're a web dev, right? You're doing web development or anything, any service-based business, does not matter. Take your best clients. give them to AI and say, go research these best clients. These are my favorite clients. I need you to go figure out why they are my favorite clients. Mm-hmm. Go see what they have in common and why we, and you already know about us. And, normally we have some sort of like a document where we'll say, here's all the stuff about our company. So it knows all that. But you could also just use deep research and say, go research our company. So you understand what we do. These are our favorite clients. Go understand our favorite clients to understand why they are our favorite clients. Now tell me why they're our favorite clients. And then how would we know that the prospect is about to become our favorite client? Like, oh, this is another prospect. Like, this is just like the other. This is gonna be great. Versus those clients that are kind of a pain. We've all had them where they accidentally get through your filters, and then you're like, oh, I got to go fire a client now, and it sucks. And the AI can maybe help avoid that. From a qualification perspective, is kind of what you were tying into with the qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff. Yeah. I think you're right. We are starting with the end, and then we're trying to work our way back up to like, how do I contact a new person, or how do I identify those people? So sales is a pretty long process, right? I always like to start with the end result though, like our successes. I think people who try to like go top down, like they're like, hey, what industry needs me? Oh, it's solar panels. I'm going to become a solar panel expert. Yeah. They fail every single time. But if you say, hey, I have 3 clients and 2 of those clients are in this industry, and then you extrapolate up, like, how do I find the 10,000 people in that industry? You are going to, and AI can help you get to that point. You are going to be more successful. So it's like, you got to start with your successes and then work your way up.
I love that, because you're taking even that same technique when you say, go tell us our perfect client. And it builds this little, and this is what's nice about AI that I think people miss, is you should be using it to produce resources that it can then use later. Right. Yeah. So you don't have to keep reproducing these little bricks over and over again. But like the concept would be like, okay, now that we know AI and us, right, as the business know who the sort of the perfect client is and why we like the perfect client, you can do a lot with that. Once it has that understanding, it creates a little doc or a research report. So it always has that stuff contained. Then you can go back and you use it as like a little brain, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, here's everything that you know about perfect clients that we all both agree have been this, and you can use this forever. And then when you're giving that to them, it's the questions you can now ask. So like when I was talking about earlier, it was, okay, how do I know that next client? Like, here's the transcript from the discovery call. Can you tell me the likelihood of being a good client? Yes or no? And it can do some probably analysis on that. That might be some useful feedback. But to your point, which I think is even cooler, is, okay, how do I go find more like that?
Yeah.
How do I prospect that? Where do I go find these? Is there a pattern in, what do you recommend I start? Should I focus on industry? Should I focus on a certain topic that any industry is interested in, like AI, right? Would be an example of that. That's cool, because now you're using the same piece of thing that you created with AI multiple ways, right? So, which is kind of nice. We can use it to say, hey, do I have a good client on the line? Or we can use it to say, how do I get more prospects before that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we have an entire course at ProfitSchool called Better Clients Accelerator. And that's the whole point, is like, you start with your 5 to 10 best clients or whatever, the best results you've had, and then you extrapolate. Now, back then it was a pretty manual process. It's like a spreadsheet, grading them. Now what you can do is you can say, hey, here's 3 companies, go do a deep research report for each of those using either whatever, everything has a deep research nowadays, use that, and then say, okay, well, now find out 10 or find 100 companies that are like them. Basically, the AI is creating your dream 100.
Yeah.
Not you.
That's true.
Not you just guessing what your dream 100 is. AI is creating it. That can do that right now today. And then you say, okay, now do a deep research report on that company and tell me, what conferences do they go to? What podcasts are they on? Where are these people hanging out? Like, where do you see them online? Now you have 50 different things that they are, and you show up at that conference. You say, hey, I loved you on this podcast. You follow them on LinkedIn. It's basically account-based marketing, but on steroids, because you had AI in like an hour tell you the 100 accounts you should be going after.
Yeah.
It's sick.
And there's some relevance behind it. It wasn't you just guessing or wishing or hoping. There's some sort of thought and logic behind it.
Way more relevant and way more research than you just doing on your instinct. Because a lot of people, you rely on instinct, and guess what they end up getting? Not the same result that they're looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's happened because you think, oh, this is exactly like the other one, and then it happens, and it's not at all like the other one, because your instinct is off, right? And I really like that concept of using AI to outsource the effort of the sales process, because I think that there's a lot of people have known about like the Dream 100 techniques and being able to build stuff out, but that's always taken effort. It's always felt like, oh, I'm going to go write 100 people. And I know you're never, and half the people that do that
I've gotten
hey,
a
most
10,
of the people,
Mercer. I've
right?
gotten a
Well,
10.
that's the thing. I'm the same way, right? Where you try to do it and you're like, and then you put up a list, but now it's there. You can do a lot more with it. You're literally, when you're talking about efficiencies, you're collapsing time is what's happening, right? So now you get to the result much faster. It's a better result, and it leads you into this where you don't feel like you put any effort into getting the information, which is now somehow magically in your head. You now have a Dream 100 that you didn't do anything to get, but is there, right? And you naturally want to go, well, where are they? What do I do? Okay, what should the post look like? What are the different topics? And you naturally just, this thing, it creates this blueprint of instructions that you just sort of need to follow.
Yep.
And should produce the result. So all the effort feels like I don't have to use my brain power to figure out what to do. I just have to use my brain power to do it. And it takes less brain power to do that, I think, to some extent, especially when you're working with AI, because it can come up with all these different ideas if you're not feeling creative, start in the morning,
Yeah. I mean, nobody's
That's
really,
cool.
most people are not very good at 0 to 1 or blank page.
Yes.
They need to see something. They need to see a list of, like we said this earlier, they need to see a list of 200 things and then whittle it down to 100,
right?
Versus start at 0 and come up to 10 and give up because they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm choosing the right ones. Like, I'm just guessing. Then they get in the rabbit hole of Googling, like, is this really that company? Like, once you get to the point where you're overdoing it with one that early in the process, it's going to slow you down because there's no real tangible ROI on stocking one company. But if you can have AI stock each one of those companies and give it to you and put it into your repository, and then you're querying against it and you're figuring out the principles and the prospects of that person, they can do the work for you so much faster than you ever could do on your own. And now you're like, oh yeah, I did figure out that one, and I deep dive into the one as I wanted to, but I know it's the right move. Like I'm thinking about that right now for our stuff. Like by the time that you listen to this episode, we will have a bot that I'm going to call my Dream 100 bot. And it's going to be a technique that we're going to use in order to get your Dream 100. And we're going to teach that at Profit School.
I love this because all this is the beauty of AI is AI can take anything that is a pattern and replicate. It's a process, right? That's all it is. So if you have a process of any kind, AI can probably do that process, and whatever it can't do now, it will be able to do. Right? Yeah. It's almost a certainty at this point, and faster than anybody thinks. Right? So it's just that's stuff. So every day you got to check it.
Yeah, because we all want the result. And the funny thing is, this relates to the human element too. Is like what I always tell people, especially in the service business, is that you might think that I know more than you, or that I'm more accomplished in the world of web analytics or ads, right? Because I've been doing it for like a long time. I've been doing it for 20 years. But the relationship you have, I'll never be able to have in the same way you do. If somebody likes you, if they look forward to your emails, if they see your face and they get happy, if you worked with them for 3 years of a thing and they went to a new client, I will never have that. So don't focus on what I have and you don't have. Focus on what you have and I don't, and you will succeed. Do you know who's going to help you figure that out faster than ever? AI.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help you determine the good things you have. A lot of us lose our confidence because we're comparing ourselves to somebody else, but you are the only one who can be you. And AI can reinforce that over and over again. AI is there to serve you. They're there to build you up, to be that reality check, right? So why not use it? Why not have them build up who you are? Why not have them coach you and tell you, hey, here's the thing that made you unique. Go find these exact 5 people. Your 5 people will be different than my 5 people if you do this right. Yeah, and so we're not competing.
It's so funny when you're talking about, like, we talk about how to use AI, which in and of itself is pretty easy to do because using it is just interacting with it. And that's very human, in terms of how we do that now, just talking to it or whatever. But it's like, I feel like it's so easy to teach people how to use this. And and the nuance is where the power comes from it. So it's like, how do you turn on a computer and interact with? Oh, you just hit the power button. Okay, but now how do I use a spreadsheet? That's the nuance of using a computer. It's like, oh, well, the spreadsheet, you got to use it like this, or, a Google Doc, you need to use it like that, right? In a different direction. If you want to play a video game, use a computer a completely different way. And it's a little bit like that with AI. Like one thing that's coming to mind right now that I'm thinking from a sales perspective, especially for people who are not natural salespeople, which I think is a lot of people. They're good at what they do, right? They were good freelancers at what the thing is they did, and they created a business around it because it was so good. People started sending them referral business or hired them, and now they have a real business and they got to figure out how to, grow it because those referrals don't last. Like not to say they can't last forever. They certainly can at a certain point. But if you wanted to scale, you got to bring in different traffic channels that are, bring you those leads. So how do you do that? And it's like one of the techniques I love the most right now that I'm doing a lot is transcribing just conversations. So I'll get my recorder app right on the phone. Doesn't matter. All of them will make transcripts at this point. So I'll just talk it through. And I'll just be like, all right, well, I'm, dealing with a client. Here's the current process they're going on, or not, sorry, I've got a prospect. I really like the discovery call was this and this. They brought these objections. I'm not really sure. They sent me an email that said something along the lines of blah, 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 blah. I'm not quite sure what to say back or how I would do this, or, even if we want this client, like, I'm not even sure. You know what? I'm getting frustrated. What do you think I should do? And just that is perfectly fine. You don't need to worry about, I think people make this AI more complicated than it needs to be sometimes. You can give it the transcript and you can say, hey, listen, go through. I need you to analyze this transcript and then help me in the best way possible. Figure out what's going on, help me the best way possible. Just something like that. AI will look at it, go for it. It'll sort of start to self-prompt itself in the background and be like, oh, it looks like you're needing some sales help. So I can give you answers to that. Or, oh, it looks like you're just, frustrated and you're getting caught up and it's a mindset thing. I can help you in that. Both of which can help you create more sales because you get out of your own head, and back into action in a perfect world. So I like using that technique as well. That's proven pretty valuable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like it because, like, as we were talking, I was just thinking the reason why I wanted to talk about sales process and not even talk about AI at the beginning, just the steps, is because most people don't know those steps, and that's why they're not very good at sales, because they don't even know what a sales process is. Right. Because they've been relying on referrals so much that it just falls into their lap.
Yeah,
and
they're taking orders. They're not actually selling somebody.
Exactly, right? which is definitely way easier, but not scalable, right?
Right.
But when you do this, like I built a process based on the IBM sales process from like the 50s and 60s and 70s. That was what I learned. The Oracle IBM process, from my business partners. And then it's like, I had to do my own thing. Like, okay, well, how do you do it for an agency? How do you adjust it to the modern times that are out there? But like that 20 years experience selling $10-20 million of net new business using this technique. Now I've been able to go ahead and say, okay, yeah, this is what it boils down to. Like, but you can tap into my brain when you use our bots. Like our Dream 100 bot is Jeff's version of a Dream 100 based on success for this specific type of business. And that's where I think is really cool. In the past, you had to have a coach or work as an apprentice or side by side with somebody, get on the job and do that. Now you can tap into that with agents, with an AI agent or a bot, whatever you want to call it, that gives you that. And so I think that's the really cool thing here is that intellectual capital AI is not going to have on its own. But if you can either do the deep research to get like what would the greatest salespeople in the world do, like from their books, like summarizing their books. That's something that Mercer's really good at, is like summarize this book and then summarize like I have a list on here of books that I need to read. Spin Selling, Secrets of Closing a Sale, Little Red Book. These are all things from us, Mercer, that we wrote down. Now I can just have AI read those books and tell me what's the spin selling way of doing this, of getting this pitch out there. What's the secrets to closing the sale? Like what's there? And they will evaluate they'll give you a sales process and you can tap into that world and get that result.
What would the script I would give to a client? Like help me role play with this client, and use, it's perfect to learn these different techniques. I love that. It's like a sales manager, consultant, like you said, coach right there at your beck and call, which is so nice because when you're in sales, it feels sometimes like you're the warrior all alone trying to make this thing happen, and to be able to lean back and lean into AI and it goes, oh yeah, no big deal. I got you. Like if that doesn't work, here's another 45 answers that one of them's going to, all you gotta do is just keep taking the action. Just not stopping.
What should my sales page? Yeah. What? Yeah. And then it just feeds into every one of these things because you're doing it for one of one, and it feels so much better because otherwise you're hedging. The biggest problem, the reason why small businesses stay small is because they hedge.
Yeah.
Because they're trying too hard to go after different things, and that dilutes your effort. Once you go all in on your persona and who you're going after, and you say, these are the 5 people I want to work with, or the 10 or whatever it is, you'll get those results a lot faster because you're not diluting yourself.
Yep. I love that. And ProfitSchool is an example of that because it's like in the beginning, it's like, can these systems work with any small business? Sure. Of course they can work with any small business, but it's like, they're going to work with specifically service-based businesses that are working digitally online, right? So they need that agency model, other service-based models, because they have a certain set of challenges that's different than like an e-commerce store owner would, right? They don't have inventory in most cases, just as an easy example of that. So I love that. And it's just an example of how we're doing it in ProfitSchool.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my final thoughts on, you can kind of take us home from there. Any final thoughts that you have?
Lost track of time on that one a little bit. It was doing so well. So that wraps up this AI first conversation. Thank you for listening to the Profit School podcast. Share what you've learned and check us out at profitschool.com and join that community. Rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform, and we will see you in the next episode.